I have more muscle now, my lowest weight 193, compared to when I first got lean in 2023 and I was around 203. Both times I was under 10% body fat and I started this process at around 313. Adding quality mass to your frame requires you to dial in processes that don't include you eating a bunch of shitty food. There's countless videos of bodybuilders and other fitness people on the internet pounding a bunch of fast food in order to bulk or to add some muscle. What you do doing that is just adding a bunch of fat mass. Realistically, unless you're a beginner, you can only add about 5 pounds of muscle mass per year. So the way that you need to do it needs to be very regimented. Adding quality mass every single year comes down to your nutrition, your lifting, how you prepare for your lifts, how to structure your lifts, and what to lift so you keep seeing progression. First, how do we build muscle? We need a building agent and we need a signal. Your building agent meaning what you're doing on the nutrition side, putting yourself in a slight calorie surplus so that the body can put on mass, because the body has 4 actions it can do. Gain muscle, lose muscle, gain fat, lose fat. We need to be on the gain side. Be on the gain side, we need to be over our caloric maintenance, meaning we need to be in a 200 to 500 calorie surplus. Does this mean you eat everything in the fucking world and you go and eat fast food and you put yourself 1,000 calories over maintenance and you gain a bunch of fat? Absolutely not. For you to put on simple muscle gains, it just requires you to be in a slight surplus. So a 200 to 500 calorie surplus, probably even 200 to 300 calorie surplus, is just enough. For you to gain as much muscle as possible without putting on a bunch of fat, you need to still be eating clean throughout the process. So have 90% of whatever calories that you're doing, maybe eating chicken and rice, maybe eating ground beef and potatoes, I don't care. Still have that 90% of what you're eating every single day. My suggestion is either A, you have a mass gainer, or B, you have some variation of a dessert by the end of your night. Eating all of your bulking calories in clean food like a cutting phase is going to be difficult. This is a case and situation where you want to add some easy calories for you to pack on and add to your surplus. Drinking calories, olive oil, fats. I just mentioned a mass gainer shake. Having 6 different meals to bulk is going to be very difficult. So you having the drinking calories that you can still track instead of you having a dessert, or you maybe even going into rotisserie chicken and you not exactly knowing how many calories are in that rotisserie chicken, is going to be a lot better. Regardless, in your gaining phases, you still want to be able to prioritize heavy lifting, which is going to be that signal. Is being in a gaining phase absolutely beneficial to muscle growth? Absolutely. But is it a requirement? No. Your muscles simply require a signal, right? Lifting heavy as shit, hitting PRs is that signal that's going to stimulate more muscle growth. How you're performing in your weight training and your strength training is what's going to drive muscle growth. Given that our muscle growth is driven by performance, we need to optimize for that performance as best as possible. So we need to have fast absorbing carbohydrates to hit the system fast. Your muscle loves glucose, and the glycogen that you get from carbohydrates are going to be directly correlated to how you are strength training and how you're performing during the weight room. The glycogen from your carbs every single day fill up your muscles, and they give them energy to do things like lifting, like running, like walking. So we need to position ourselves to have some carbs before we lift so that we're able to have some fast absorbing carbs, fast absorbing glycogen to help us with our lifts. Fast absorbing meaning this: it doesn't have a lot of fiber and they hit the blood system and bloodstream fast. So these are going to be things like honey, rice cakes, cream of rice. Everything I just mentioned is going to help you get more out of your lifts, and you can measure them to only have 8,200 grams of carbs in the case of cutting. Regardless, that's the preparation part. Now, how you structure your lifts, you want to make sure that you're hitting 2 heavy working sets to failure. But the training that we're doing is going to be reverse pyramid training. Most of you guys are probably doing 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 10, but you're noticing as you get to that 3rd or 4th set that your form breaks down, it becomes shittier and shittier, right? And that's for a reason. Your muscles are breaking down as you're going through your variation of sets. So we need to be optimizing to hit PRs and hitting our heavy sets while we're the freshest. So after a couple warm-up sets with the movement, you want to move straight into your working set that's going to be your heaviest. That is going to be what you PR with. And once you hit a PR, write it down because we're going to beat it the very next week. We're solely focused on maximizing the output of our lifts and focusing on getting stronger or hitting the most reps with the most amount of weight is doing that. And that's what's going to inspire and signal muscle growth. Not a bunch of reps or not a bunch of sets to see how many times you can do 10 reps. Now for consistent progression and no limitations at the gym, the 2 body parts that you want to focus on getting stronger are the core and your forearms. Forearms and your grip strength are your activating agent for most muscle groups or most movements in the gym. Plus, the heavier that you go, if your forearms are weak and they can't help you drive, let's say it's going to be a bench press or let's going to be a row, then you're obviously going to be limited. So it's important that you take the time to hit your farmer's carry, to have your dead hangs, to have your holds. They're going to strengthen your forearms throughout the process, so you're not limited in the amount of weight that you can do, and you can go even more sets to failure on other muscle groups. The same thing with the core. The core isn't just to look good. We all got our faces for that. The core is a driving point for most of your lifts. You won't even notice it until you wear a lifting belt. So you need to take the time to not only establish a foundation for your core. So if you're doing core exercises and you're getting weakness cramps, you have no foundation. So you need to immediately do calisthenics and do a calisthenics circuit to get that foundation, get those weakness cramps going away. But then you need to be moving into weight and weighted exercises. Everybody that says there's no point in doing abs unless you're trying to get a six pack and that you're small enough and skinny enough for them to reveal themselves are just bullshitting you. Your abs are gonna be the biggest connector between your upper body and your lower body. They're gonna be working in sync with each other. You're gonna be exponentially stronger when you have a strong core. I'm even stronger than I was, they say, 313-pound offensive lineman at 193, right? 120-pound difference because my core is so much stronger. You guys see when I'm moving big weight on the landmine rows, big weight on the bench press, big weight on the shrugs. That all comes from core strength, guys. When you're in the gym, make sure you're hitting core at least 3 times a week to establish that foundational strength and then moving into weights and emphasizing getting that core nice and strong, regardless if you want a six-pack or not. When your forearms and abs are locked in, you're gonna be able to progress weights a lot more, which is gonna stimulate more muscle growth within the other muscle groups. If you follow all those steps consistently, you're gonna be able to put on as much muscle mass as you want, right? Focus on getting stronger, have your gaining phases of, a 200 to 300 calorie surplus. But the main focus is on getting stronger, optimizing for your lifts, and then getting those 2 muscle groups stronger so that you don't have any limitations. Push for those PRs, consistently get stronger, and consistently add to your frame every single year. King Stan III here again on all platforms. I'm going to see you guys in the next one.